Hey, I'm Rick.
Hey, I'm Cindy. Together we are Dry Run Dulcimer.
Yes, we are. This is Piper.
This is Piper. Yep. She's a little excited that Rick's here. She hasn't calmed down yet, but hopefully we can get through this. We're going to record lesson 17.
17.
I know.
I looked back this morning. I thought, well, how long have we been doing this? And the first one was January the 12th.
Yeah.
So we're almost to 3 months, or over 3 months.
No, we're over 3 months.
We're over
on
3
4
months. So we're coming up on 4 months.
Yeah, but when we get to 6 months is when you're supposed to see a big improvement.
I thought it was 3.
No. But now, that's just the big improvement. That doesn't mean that's going to be it. From the timeline, they're saying it's probably going to take a year or two to really get it down good. But a big improvement at 6 months.
Yeah. We'll keep plowing along, and the lessons may get less and less, but the play along, jam along videos and stuff like that, we can just keep going on those.
Well, and if we find something, like some of the stuff that we're going over now is kind of some stuff that we've already hit on, but it's explained a little bit differently. And, sometimes you miss something the first time through. Because you're concentrating on something else. And so we're still in this Ears How book. We got this new book. And so I think it's good to hit on all the information that he's got in here. So I don't know how long it'll take, but we'll keep going as long as we have something to say.
Yeah. Well, that'll be forever then.
Well, we may change subjects.
Oh, well,
I don't know that we could talk forever.
We can always think of something to say.
Yeah, we sure can. Well, today we are going to go over chapters 5, 6, and 7 out of his book. Okay?
All right.
Yeah, and some of them are kind of, quick and hitting on things. Like chapter 5, he's talking about, this is funny, chapter 5 is 5 ways to learn a song. And he has a quote from Bonnie Raitt. Bonnie Raitt says, there's no one...
I'm going to tell you this. She has one of my psalteries.
Oh, does she really? Well, how about that? I didn't know that.
Another entertainer from Nashville bought one and gave to her as a present.
Well, how about that?
I was very surprised.
Well, that's cool.
It's probably in the bottom of her closet somewhere.
It might be her favorite instrument.
Well, it might be. I've not heard from her. I don't talk to her very much.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Okay, well, Bonnie Raitt, who happens to have one of Rick's bowed psalteries, says, there's no one right way to play a song, only the way that you make it yours.
I agree with that.
So there's not one right way. There's several right ways, and it's however you decide to make it your way.
I agree with that totally.
Well, the author here says there's many ways to learn a song, and each one of them will strengthen a different one of your musical skills. He says some train your ears, some train your fingers, some will help you sing along confidently, and some give you the music superpowers that you will use in jamming or arranging. Okay? So he goes over these 5 approaches, and we're just going to hit on them quickly. But he says the first way to learn a song is just the vocals. You hum or sing and use your voice. You can get a feel for any song by listening, then humming or singing the tune. So, I don't know.
I think I do that. I do that, but it's internal. It doesn't come out of my mouth. You can't hear it. I can hear it. It's in my head. I do that same thing.
But see,
I've always said that I hum along in my head when I'm thinking a tune, and that's the way I audiate.
Right. And that's what you should be doing from what we've understood or, what we've researched and found out. But I thought it was interesting because he uses the word tune. He doesn't use the word song, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I don't know if he means anything specific about that or not, but lots of times people say the song is the words and the tune is like the melody or the music. So do you hum the tune, the melody? Mm-hmm. You don't ever hum the words, do you?
No, I never. I don't even listen to the lyrics a lot of times. That's bad to say, but I don't. Yeah. That's for a song, for any piece of music that I listen to, that's secondary.
Yeah.
It's always about the melody, the harmonies, and the rhythm and all of that. It's just the lyrics. A lot of times, a lot of people can sing word for word, sing along with the song. My wife could do that. I couldn't. I might know a few little phrases or something.
Well, see, I am the word person. We've talked about that before. And so when it says just the vocals and use your voice, even though I can't sing, I still sing along. And I thought, ooh, I do this. That's the way to learn that I've learned. But then I thought about it when he said the word tune, and I thought, no, I don't think I did that, because I think he's still talking about humming the melody and stuff like you did. And even though he's saying you're using your voice, I don't think he's talking about the lyrics, and that's what I
don't
did.
either. Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't even do that.
I think it's still just the what I call the music.
Yeah.
Of course, I know the lyrics are part of the music, but to me, that's the part that we do when we play. That's the music.
Well, he says the second way is to just learn the chords of a song. And he says that is really great for jamming. You're just strumming along. You don't have any need to know the notes. You just have to know the chords. And it's great for playing with others. And we have talked about chords and the most common chords being the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. And that would be of the key of the song that you're playing in, which is usually D on the dulcimer. But, so, for people that are playing by ear, I don't think we've really talked about that you could just play along with those chords at a jam, and you would still be fitting in.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we've talked about that, really.
Well, we should have. Because that's a lot of times, if you don't know the melody or the tune, and you aren't going to, you don't have the tab, and you're not going to play it note for note right away. So all you can do is pretty much. So it's a good idea though to learn the if you can just strum along and kind of catch the chord changes. That's a big ways toward playing the melody, because especially the way I play, because I use chords in my melody when I'm playing.
I feel so defeated lots of times in the past. Of course, I'm getting better now. But when I would go to a jam, I know to play the chords, but I generally don't think about that, because I'm always just trying to pick out the melody and pick out a few of the notes. And even when we have jammed along with our friends like at Ohio Valley Gathering and stuff, I was still trying to follow along with the melody. And it's like, Cindy, why don't you just work on some chords and be happy with that?
I've got an idea. Rick's got a great idea. When we do our next jam along, or a few of them, while you're playing the melody, I'll just strum chords. Or the other way around. You can do the chords and I'll play the melody. We can switch, but that's that's
good idea.
That's that's, like I said, that's a lot of times that's the perfect way to join in on a jam, because really nobody else is here. It's not a solo. You're not in the spotlight, so
there you
just
go.
Learning those chords is I think that's a really good start.
Well, see, it pays to go over some of this stuff.
We should have written a book.
I should have read this book. All right, so the third way, he says, is to use chords and vocals. This is so you could perform the songs all by yourself. You're going to be playing the chords and then singing, and that would involve the lyrics and the vocals. And that, that's a wonderful thing, and it's talented people that can do that, but that's not really a way that we are concentrating on right now.
That's something that I've tried to do, is play and sing. I can sing a little bit, and I can play, but doing them both together, it just doesn't compute. There's just too much going on. I don't know why that is, that I just can't put the two together. I'm sure with some work maybe it would happen, but
it takes some practice, I'm sure. Okay, so the fourth way is the instrumental melody, and that's what we have been working on, and it's to pick out the tune on the instrument of your choice. And he says it's like learning to hum it or sing it, because you got to know how to do that, but you also have to know your instrument well enough to find those notes on the instrument. So, and that's a skill that we've been working on developing. So that's one way. Then the final way, he says, is to do an instrumental arrangement. That's after you get the simple melody down and you can spice it up, which we have spiced it up a little bit by adding some basic chords you know, but we don't want to push it too far to where it's beyond our abilities right now. But this is something in the future we can arrange, and as we develop our skills down the road, arrange even more sophisticated arrangements.
Well, what we're doing as far as, and we've started doing some, you're arranging and tabbing out a melody, and then I play my part, and then you video what I'm doing to try to follow that. By the way, how's that going?
It's
Are
hard.
you able to follow my fingers and see what I'm doing?
It's hard. I can only do small
I
bits
wonder,
of it at a time.
You know, you can slow it down.
I know. Okay, so those are the 5 ways to learn a song. Then he goes into talking about the basic song structure, which, you know, we just assume that people know, but we'll just touch on it because there's the verses, the choruses, and the bridges. And this is in most of your more modern songs, okay? So the verse is where they tell the story. Each verse has different words, and the melody and the chords, though, they mostly stay the same, but the words change in the verses. Then the chorus is the main hook. That's the part everybody remembers and everybody wants to sing. It says it's usually the same words every time, a bigger sound, but a simpler, more catchier melody. Then they often have a bridge, which is just a short section that sounds different than the verse and different from the chorus. It's kind of like gives it contrast, and then you kind of turn around usually and go back to the chorus. So he says most popular songs, they do verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. That's their form. But we play a lot of fiddle tunes, and we have talked a lot about AABB.
Yes, let me ask you about a bridge.
Okay.
A lot of times if someone's singing a song, and they're going to sing the whole song, but they're going to give you an instrumental break, most of the time it's only the verse. You know, they don't play the verse and the chorus. You can. So is that verse part, is that considered a bridge?
You know, I guess they could, but most of the time the bridge is not like the verse. It's not like a instrumental verse. The bridge has a total different tone to it. I can't think of any good examples right now, but it's something
I've noticed
totally
that a lot,
different.
and I've been playing when someone's singing and they give you an instrumental break, and then when you get to the chorus, they start singing again. And I think, well, wait a minute, I thought we were going to play a whole, but that's not the way it works. But
Well,
you can.
Right.
When me and my friend Walola recorded some songs, and we intentionally did, the full verse and chorus between verses sometimes to. So I guess it's kind of up to you as far as what you want to do. But I just noticed that's what happens a lot. And then like if you go
Right.
watching a concert or something, and they take an instrumental break, it's usually just that verse, and then they go right back in and start the verse again, maybe.
Well, if you're
They jump in on the chorus.
right, and of course, if it's just like the verse, I think they would this author anyway would call that an instrumental verse, because the bridge is kind of totally different sounding, and the melody whatnot changes, so it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Rick dropped his pick, but it'll be fine.
I
He's
have to.
over there.
I have to.
He's got to have something
I have
to fiddle with as he sits there.
I don't know what it is, but I've noticed watching the videos. You don't realize you're doing a lot of this stuff when when you're just sitting here doing things or talking, and it's just unconscious. And I flip my pick like this. So if y'all will watch from now on, you see me doing it, or my feet move around a lot. I tap my foot, and my feet can't sit still. Maybe I've got some music going through me. I don't know what it is.
We don't know either, but it's something.
Nobody knows what's going through Rick's head.
All right, well, we were talking about the verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, and then we're also talking about A, B, B, and the fiddle tunes. They usually have a part A and a part B. Oftentimes you play 2 A's and then 2 B's, so it would be A, B, B. But there are some songs where we play A, B.
That's a snag that a lot of jams hit because one group will be used to playing it one way, and then others will be So you kind of clash a few times until you
One of
come
those
to an
regional
understanding.
kind of things, or
We
whatever, who
do
you're
that
used to playing with.
at the museum with the museum group. As long as we've been playing together, we still do that occasionally. But
on certain songs, yeah.
we work it out.
So they say if you listen and pay attention, you'll hear these different sections and you'll notice a few clues. Repeated lyrics usually signal an oncoming chorus. The music often gets louder or fuller during the chorus. And then a sudden change in chords, melody, or mood often marks the bridge. So the bridge would be a change. But they say when you start practicing these skills, everything, it will kind of start to blend together, and you are going to start hearing songs as clear sections other than just one long stream. And that really makes learning by ear faster and easier. And even though I know this, I don't think I paid that much attention to it yet. And I should, because it would make it faster and easier.
It's got me thinking about recently we were talking about where one of us, if we're playing a song and we know that it's getting toward the end, the one that's kind of leading, if you start slowing down just a little bit, that tells the other person that this is the end. We're going to retard down to the end there, and that's the last time we're going to play it.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes back to being about communication.
Yeah. 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 And listening.
Listening.
Okay, so that's really what his chapter 5 was about. And then he goes into chapter 6, which is the anatomy of a song. And he talks about the different parts of a song and the purpose. And he says the song part number 1 is the root. The root note is the foundation of the entire song. It is where the ear comes home to. And in many bluegrass and folk songs, it's also the last note or final chord. Now, frequently, it's the first and the final, but it may not be the first. There could be something that's just different. And I think, didn't you talk about that you listened to where the song ended to find?
To know what key it's in.
Yeah.
That's my simple way. I didn't know I was doing it correctly, but it seemed to work most of the time, but it's you can't do it every time. There's always something like on a crooked tune or something, it's not going to work.
Right. So, yeah. So if it says here to remember, if you want to cheat and find the root note or chord of a song, listen to where it ends. You will have a really good chance that the final chord of the song that it lands on is the key of the song. The root chord of the song was
I've heard of the root chord, but I didn't know there was a root note, which is pretty much the same thing.
It's the note that the root chord is built on.
Okay.
So in the key of D,
sense.
the root or the one chord is the D. Mm-hmm. And the root of the D chord is the D, the D note. So they're kind of interchangeable when you talk about them that way. So that's what the root note is, or the root chord, either way. Then he says the song part 2 is what key it's in. So the key defines the song's tonal neighborhood. That's the set of chords that belong together in that neighborhood, right? You can often find it once you locate the root chord or the home chord, the one that feels the most resolved, and from there you can usually identify the song's scale and the chord family. They're going to talk about chord families and stuff down the road, but once you find your root note, your home note, your root chord, your home chord, that's going to be the scale where your scale starts. Of course, it'll depend on if it's a major scale, a minor scale, whatever. But that's where you're going to start, okay? So, song part 3 is the scale or the mode. Scales are collections of notes that form the raw material of melodies. Modes are variation on those scales that create different moods. They could be happy, sad, mysterious, or hopeful. Yeah. Modes have always been, I don't know, kind of strange to me.
Is a mode like Ionian, Mixolydian. Is that a mode?
Yes.
I saw something this morning. I was searching, and I typed in something about my DGD tuning that I use a lot and really like. And it said that it is a reverse Ionian tuning.
There you go.
And I thought, well, I've seen that Ion. I still don't know what it means, but I thought that was interesting to see that pop up and there to be a connection to a mode that I really don't know anything about.
Well, I can't say too much about modes because as being a normal piano student, we learned a lot about keys. So
I only know the two that I can say, Ionian and Mixolydian. I like Mixolydian.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. I just know the word.
Well, I would say we're not going to worry about those.
All right.
We are just trying to match tones, find them on our instrument, and play it. And if people want to know more about that, then they can look it up. And maybe one day down the road in the future, we will have a change of heart and we will know what we're talking about.
But I made it 70 years without knowing what it is.
That's right. I've been a long time too. So, all right, so let's just go to song part 4 is chord progressions. Every song has a pattern of chords that repeat and move the music forward. Most songs use familiar progressions. They're built from a small set of chords within the key. And by learning how to hear these chords, you hear the function of them, the tension, the motion, the resolution, then you can start to predict how things are going to happen and where they are going to go next. What will be the next chord in the chord progression? We've kind of talked about that. Mm-hmm. The most common, chords 1, 4, and 5, how they progress. The 5 is the furthest away pull, and it makes you want to go back to the 1. So we've talked about this a little bit, and I think later in this book we'll get on to it more. But at this point, we're just giving explanations. And then the song part 5 is the melody. That's the voice of the song. That's the part you're going to remember, the part you're going to sing. You're going to start humming along and then trace out the melody on your instrument. And you're not going to worry about speed or accuracy at first. You want to focus on direction, shape, and emotional flow. And the goal is just really to simply blend in the song and not stick out. It's not necessarily to have it perfect when you're first starting. Blend in.
Mm-hmm.
Blend in. And I thought that was the direction, focus on direction, because there are a couple of songs that we have done. And, we've talked about how I have trouble knowing sometimes if I'm going higher or lower or higher or lower. And so there are a couple songs that we have done, and I have to tell myself, we go down after that note, because I still have trouble hearing that on that one tone. So anyway, I just thought sometimes I guess I do focus on direction. When I can't get the tone straight and remember where to go in my head and can't audiate it right, I just remember it goes down there or it goes up there. So, pitiful, aren't I?
I was going to say that I don't think that ever goes through my head.
Well, you're not pitiful.
Whether it goes up or down. Maybe
you're
I'm
not pitiful.
Maybe I'm not.
Well, the next chapter is finding the root. Yeah, chapter 5, 6, 7. Finding the root is chapter 7. So they talk about different steps. So we want to find the root note, the root chord, home note, home chord, what the song is built on. Okay? There's
an advantage to the Dulcimer because most of the time it's going to be in the key of D. If it's not, somebody's going to say, capo 3s, this is in G or A or E minor. Anything else is pretty much, you're just kind of assuming that it's D, so it kind of gets easier for the
we
Dulcimer
can play
player.
in G though. I mean, we could play in A.
And you do all the time.
You can play in E minor without the capo. I mean, you usually use a capo, but I don't always. So you can play in other chords, but you can't play in every note or every chord that'd be on the piano or in music because we don't have them on our instrument. We are diatonic and not chromatic. So, Okay, so
there's ways to achieve that, but you're getting into alternative tuning.
yeah, we don't want to do that.
I do some of that for myself,
But we don't want to do that
that makes it easier for me.
It makes it easier to play along, but for now, for people that are just building their ear,
yep,
we're going to stick to the ones that are Dulcimer friendly, without retuning.
It goes back to mine. Makes it easy. D. What keys is in? D.
Okay, so practical steps that you can use right now to find the root. They say hum it first. If you're listening to a recording, pause it. Lift that sound up in your mind and hum it. The steady note that best matches the chord's flavor. All right, that's what you're going for. Don't sweat accuracy, just try to hold the pitch. This is beginner friendly and often faster than trying to name the note immediately. Naming the note gets back to that perfect pitch that we talked about. We don't really need that. We just need to be able to kind of hum and whatever note we hear and find it on this.
We're relative pitch people.
Yes, we are, and we like it that way. So that's one way to try to find what the root is, just to listen to part of it, turn it off, and then just kind of hum what you kind of hear as the core note and try to find that on your instrument. The second line they said was to check the bass line. Listen, turn the recording back on and listen to the lowest note that you can hear, the bass note. And the bass often emphasizes the root note. And if it matches the note that you happen to be humming, then you're pretty much got your confirmation that you got the right note. Is that good? Okay, the next thing they say is to sweep up one string.
What?
Sweep up your string. As you're humming that steady tone, right? Then just start moving up the string until you find it.
Until you find the note. Mm-hmm.
Sweep up it. When you find the match, look and see what fret it is, and then you can look and see what note that is as well. Now that is, again, more of a common thing on a chromatic instrument than it's going to be on our instrument. But still, you can find some of the same notes both on your A string and your D string. So you could sweep up a different one if you needed to. Okay, so then they say sing guide notes for confirmation. Now, to me, this is above my head. This probably worked for you because you are into harmony. But they say once you have a suspect, once you suspect you know what the root is, to sing the chord's third or fifth note above it and check whether those notes sit comfortably over the chord. It's hard for me to even hear a note that is a third above or a fifth above, much less to try to sing that note. So I think that's a little, for somebody like me, a little far-fetched.
Do you think we'll get into talking about some harmony as far as
we could
how that
down
works?
the road.
I'd like that. I do it, but I don't really know how or why. I don't understand how it works. I hear it.
Right.
But I'd like to hear more about that in the future.
I don't know if it's in this book, but we could
get another book.
We get another book. Okay, so that's a few practical tips and caveats. They say sometimes, this is important for you to remember, is that the root is not the lowest sounding note in a chord because there are what they call inversions. You know what an inversion is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so a D chord would be a D, F sharp, and an A. All right, to make a D chord inversion, you take this low D, and you're going to play a F sharp, an A, and you move the D over here to where it's higher. So now you still have F sharp, A, and a D, but your D is going to be the highest note. Even though it's the highest note, it is still a D chord because it is made up of the three notes that form a D chord. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So our workshop with Dave Haas
I wasn't there. I was sick.
Couple months. Well, he went on. He was talking about playing some backup chords, and he said he likes to play the starting on the bass string. So is that an inversion? And his A was only I think it's a 1-0-0.
Usually an A is 101.
But if he's staying low, I'm pretty sure he said that he goes to just an A. Maybe it's like a different A. It'd be the same. Well, if it's 101 is the same for either way, but with the so it'd be a 3-1-0 for the G or a 2-0-0.
Okay. Well, a 3-1-0. Let me tell you, a 3-1-0, a 3 on the bass is going to give you a G. This a 1 is going to give you a B on the middle string, and a 0 is going to give you a D. All right, so these are from lowest to highest notes is G, B, D. So that is a normal G chord, G, B, D. Now, let's invert it. Let's play the G on our high string. There you go, and you've got your...
So that's the G chord that everybody learns to start with, pretty much, is that, when you're playing a Bow Them Cabbage Down, that's your G chord.
Yeah.
It's not this one.
Right.
But he was saying that he preferred that for accompaniment. Playing a chord accompaniment is he liked the sound of that better than because the other was just sounded too high. It mixes up too much with the melody.
Right. Well, and I wasn't there to hear everything that Dave said, so I can't read into exactly what you know what I mean, because there could have been more.
Somebody videoed it and you got it on the.
I've got it, but I don't know what you're talking about right now, so I can't comment. But there's nothing wrong with playing that. You can always flip your chords, and that does put it in the standard position with the G, the lowest note.
I believe when he was talking about that, I believe we had moved into the jam with him, and that may not be on the video. But he was talking about. I thought that was interesting, and so I've started trying to do that some. So old Rick can learn how to do something.
He can learn.
He didn't know it
That's
all.
a whole nother conversation, though. All right, so we've talked a little bit about inversion. That's when you keep the same notes that are in a chord, but instead of having the root as the lowest note in the chord, you're just changing the order, okay? And they also say context matters, because they say the same collection of notes can be heard differently depending on what comes just before it and just after it. So when in doubt, you need to really listen to resolution. And remember, our handy tip is that the chord that feels like home at the end of a song is usually the tonic or the root of the key. So hopefully this will help somebody.
I think it will.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's all we are going to go over today. I think that's enough. We talked about 5 different ways to learn a song. Of course, jamming and the instrumental melody are what we are really looking for right now and trying to build on. We talked about the song structure with verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. Well, then we talked about usually the fiddle tunes where A, B, B, or some version. Some even have C's. And I think I've even seen some D's. I don't think I've seen one farther than D. But then we talked about the anatomy of the song. We talked about the root note, the key that it's in, the scale, basic chord progressions, and the melody. We're going to go more into detail about each one of those topics. But today we just talked about finding the root note. And the big thing and the big cheat way was to listen to what the song ended on. And then for you to try to hum what you hear as being the tonal center of the song itself. Listen to the bass line, go up one string, and then he tried saying, sing the 3rd or the 5th above that note, which is way beyond me. So that's it.
Good lesson.
We also have a song assignment. It's going to be Sugar Hill, and we have it on a Jam and Learn video, so go check out that Jam and Learn video, and I will go ahead and put a version of the song at the end of this video so you can hear it now, but go to the Jam and Learn video to quickly jump just to the song, go into the description of the video, and hit Song begins.
There you go.
And it'll jump right there.
Another lesson in the can.
All right. Best of luck. Bye.
Acceptable.
Great job, Rick. You even smiled.